On today's show, Chris and I dive into the Cleveland Cavaliers losing once again to the New York Knicks. And I got to ask you guys as we head in, what was colder, the weather outside or the Cavs offense in the third quarter?
Let's dive in.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. I'm Chris Manning. That is Evan Dammarell. Thanks again to Jake Stevens, as always, for his work on production.
We are two tired podcast hosts for Halloween as we record immediately after Cavs Knicks.
Well, I have like I normally dress this way, but I feel like I especially look like a 1950s white man right now.
Okay, so. Your costume is like an onion. It's got layers.
Yeah. But anyway, Cavs Knicks. Cleveland loses by 18. No Darius Garland. No Jared Allen. No
Karis LeVert either, or Ty Jerome.
Not that one's, no offense to Ty Jerome, less of a concern, but the other three pretty significant. Jared Allen haven't played this season. Darius Garland only played once. Evan, big takeaway from this game, as we do after every game. For me, it's just I'm gonna hedge, and I don't like hedging, but I have a hard time looking at how the Cavs really could have won this game, frankly, or for us, looking at seeing what has changed basis how these guys played in this game versus the playoffs last year, when they have all these injuries. Two two-way guys played pretty significant minutes, and the Knicks were full strength. I don't feel like, as much as I still think there are some concerns, I don't feel like we were able to actually learn very much coming out of this game, as frustrating as I'm sure it was for the Cavs themselves.
That's just kind of how it's been. Even in that lone win of the season over Brooklyn, it's hard to take full stock of what this Cavs team is capable of, just because they are not at 100%. They are missing Darius Garland. They are missing Jared Allen, two pretty vital pieces to either end of the floor for the Cavs. Allen on defense, Garland on offense, of course. And like you said, Craig Porter Jr. and Amani Bates got serious minutes. And sure, they played a lot of garbage time in the fourth quarter, but Bates was the first player off the bench for the Cavs with George Niang, and Craig Porter Jr. subbed in about towards the end of the first quarter. And then we saw a lineup of Craig Porter Jr., Max Strus, Amani Bates, George Niang, and Tristan Thompson, which is just a lineup I never thought would really have happened this year for the Cavs. And that's something that was a product of the Cavs offseason and them getting punked by the Knicks, was adding all this depth and having kind of strength in numbers. But that really goes to the wayside when you're missing, again, this is still a top heavy team, missing two pretty important pieces. And I think there's stuff we can break down individually from this game. That's where my take's going to go with this. But I agree with you. It's hard to get a full scope of what this season really is so far, just because the Cavs, unfortunately, just have had bad health to start the year.
Yeah, and look, even Donovan Mitchell, I think, did some really effective things in this game, but I think you also just saw, I think, sometimes how much he is missing as a creator at times. And, he made some really good passes. My play of the night is going to be a Donovan Mitchell assist that he made. But you saw, the Knicks just put two guys up at the level and blitz him to some degree and say, everyone else beat us, and your thing's going to be Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley didn't do that. Max Strus did not do that. George Niang, who we'll talk about in segment 3, because I have a take I want to get off about him, has not been good, and he wasn't good in this game. And they did some things that were interesting, and bless their hearts for getting these minutes. But Craig Porter Jr. overall was not particularly effective. Amani Bates is not ready for this, and that all just kind of shows up. And
his first two actual NBA shots were air balls, and then he makes like a step back three. And I'm like, that kind of just feels like the entire crystallization of the Amani Bates experience so far.
Yeah, but it's like, even like Bates, you watch him get screened by Julius Randle in this game, and he's at least like moving in the right direction, but he just gets hit with a thud, and there's nowhere for him to go defensively. He doesn't totally know where to be at or how to play defense, which makes sense. He's 19, but if it's not fair to him, in my opinion, to throw him into the deep end against a team that you played in the playoffs last year right away. That's a hard spot for him to be in. And I think that reflects kind of the outcome here. But you have some thoughts on Mobley. Let's get to those, Evan.
So Evan Mobley had a pretty disappointing game against New York, and just disappointing from the lens of he really stepped up in a major way against the Pacers. Kind of had like a career-defining game. You're like, okay, this is what Evan Mobley could be when he is like the number one or number two option on this team, like is very much involved. He in the offense is very heliocentric and designed towards him. And you didn't get that against the Knicks. You saw him kind of not just, he couldn't dissect what New York was doing to him defensively, whether it was Isaiah Hartenstein or Mitchell Robinson, or even just like Julius Randle as well. Like the Knicks really frustrated him. And like let me pull the stats up here. If you just look at last season, regular season and postseason, and this game, he's averaged 10.8 points, 9.3 rebounds, 2.9 assists, and 1.8 blocks per game. Those are not good numbers. And again, it's hard to take a full scope or a full analysis of what this team can or cannot be, but it's really disheartening if you're the Cavs when you are down two star players in Garland and Allen, but like Mitchell stepped up to the task and tried to give the Cavs everything he could in the first half. Certainly shrank a little bit in the second half, but like Mobley didn't step up at all in this game. And like that's disheartening if you're Cleveland, because when the Cavs had no stars against the Pacers, Mobley more than stepped up. You're like, okay, maybe he's starting to show a little bit of that edge, and then it just vanished against New York. And I don't really have an answer for it, but you're hoping to see this year three leap, and you're not really seeing signs of it. You're just kind of seeing more defensive dominance, and like when he isn't just the lone wolf out there, you're not seeing him kind of take over on offense like you want him to.
The other thing that I would add to this is physically, I thought he struggled with Isaiah Hartenstein. I thought he struggled with Mitchell Robinson.
I literally thought of that Kevin James meme when Kevin James meme is like, this is Isaiah Hartenstein whenever Evan Mobley's trying to post up on him in this game.
It was not the best looking thing for Mobley and where his offense is right now. I think that's unavoidable. And I think, so, look, I even think I was lower on him and what his offense was based on other people. Based on another night, I thought that game had like a lot of points, but I didn't feel like it was the big breakthrough that maybe the framing was on it to some degree. And I think that was it. And I think this to me validates a little bit of where he's at. It's a little bit of a struggle right now. It's a little bit underwhelming right now, frankly, for Evan Mobley on offense. And this was a game, and this will be a matchup. And anytime they're in a big series, you're going to need more from him on offense. He's going to be part of this breakthrough if that's going to happen. And when it doesn't happen and you see some of the limitations, like that's a concern. Yes, I think he plays with more physicality, but it hasn't always translated.
Correct.
I think in the way that you might hope it would at this point.
Can I ask you this? I know the Raptors are not a good team right now, record-wise, and are struggling quite a bit. But like when you watch how Scotty Barnes is just kind of doing a little bit of everything and doing whatever, like, yeah, you take it with a grain of salt. It's a bad team right now. But you look at what Scotty Barnes is doing and you're thinking like, you wish Evan Mobley kind of had some of that selfishness, or maybe the Cavs would find ways to empower him in ways that allow him to do things. Cause like they're not the same player, but is some overlap. And the stuff like Barnes does, you wish Mobley was just kind of trying at this point, especially like when the Cavs are undermanned and like need somebody to step up other than Donovan Mitchell.
I think the comparison I kind of have jumped to is Chet, just because Chet clearly has like offensive utility.
Well, Chet's what Cavs fans think Evan Mobley is in terms of just like a 3-point shooting defensive juggernaut.
Well, but like Chet's not a defensive juggernaut yet. I think we know that, but I don't think he's as good defensively as Mobley
blocks
is
against the Cavs.
He had
seven. He got taken to task by Jokic in the Thunder home opener. But
he's gonna be a really good defender, but he's not like he's not that level of defender. Mobley's a better defender, but Chet has the pick and pop. Chet has the feel on the shot that is the separator to me, and that is
lacking on Mobley's side.
Yeah, and like, there's things Mobley does, but
watched him with quite a few like post up weight jumpers early in the season, and it's just like, yeah, you want him trying those things and trying to find comfort in that, but boy, you're wishing it would just start landing for him, because like it just looks like it goes up then back down like a medicine ball.
All right, coming up after this, it's Game Awards. That's MVP, Stat of the Night, and Play of the Night. We'll talk about that coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. That's the official sportsbook of Locked On and an official partner of the NFL. And you can score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So let's say you're a diehard Browns fan. Browns this weekend playing a bad Arizona Cardinals team. Maybe it's a good time to check out FanDuel. You've been thinking about joining FanDuel. There's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. And if you're an NBA fan, they have a ton of NBA bets as well. I might be intrigued to say sprinkle some MVP money on Devin Booker or Jason Tatum if you're not going for Jokic. So visit FanDuel.com/lockdown and kick off the NFL season, and dare I say tip off the NBA season as well. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Game Awards. MVP Donovan Mitchell scored the most points, was the one player on the Cavs that actually put fear into the Knicks defense. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, Mitchell definitely cooled off in the second half. He only had 6 points overall, but like was the leading scorer for the Cavs, was the reason why Cleveland was able to hang in this game. I think you got to respect the fact that probably isn't 100% physically, but made it pretty clear post game, like there was no hesitation that he wasn't going to play, and he expects to play against New York tomorrow as well. I think you notice especially that Bickerstaff didn't really play his starters heavy minutes down the stretch. Like he knew this game was lost and threw in the towel and got his starters some, and at least key rotation guys, some like actual like rest heading into a pretty hostile environment, and just a team that just has continued to bewitch and befuddle you every step of the way. So yeah, it's a good pick. And just for me, like the other guy is just Isaac Okoro. Played really well in these first 4 games for Cleveland, continues to do so. Contract year Okoro is kind of fun. I'll talk about that a little bit more in the third segment, but he is a bright spot in an otherwise kind of crappy stretch the Cavs are dealing with, right?
Let me ask this. Has he been the bright spot of the Cavs early season? Is Isaac Okoro the answer to that question? I think for me, it's yes. I
think it's him or Strus being what I expected him to be, but also like that playmaking bump has been a little fun for me to see. Like it's one of those two.
Yeah. Everything else has been pretty blah, for being honest about it.
It's just underwhelming, man.
All right, let's go to play. Yeah, go ahead.
Night. Yeah, let's just go to play tonight. It's just been an overwhelming season so far for the Cavs. And again, we can't take full stock of it because they are missing 2 incredibly key pieces. But like on an individual level, like kind of disappointing if like this is not the way you were hoping the season would start if you're Cleveland.
No, so play of the night. This was to me maybe the Mitchell had just like moments of unguardable stuff in this game. He had this thing where he beats a trap. 2 guys come meet him at the level, and try to force the ball out of his hands. He beats it, and he gets Tristan Thompson to dunk. This was just the best version of Mitchell, the playmaker. This was the best version of what Mitchell can do when he's really feeling it, and you pressure him and he reacts and reads it. It was, to me, my favorite Mitchell play of the night. He did a lot of cool stuff in this game, even in the loss. But for him beating this trap, beating two guys coming at him, getting Biden and getting Tristan Thompson a clean dunk, that's going to be my one. And you could have picked 3-4 other Mitchell plays, I think, from this one. Evan, what's your pick?
My pick is, I know I was kind of like poking fun at it, but that Amani Bates like step back 3-pointer, like the dribble move he had, and he stepped back to take that 3. It was just kind of like, oh wow, that's fun. Like Jackson Flickinger or Flickerington or whatever his name badge said tonight was talking about it. Like, yeah, he does show some signs of being like a rotation player, does need a lot of time to grow and develop, but just like that kind of like have that confidence to take that type of shot after airballing your first attempt. You know what? Like Amani Bates, I tip my hat to you on that play. Like that was fun.
The thing I really liked about that play was that how he used his frame. He is this really long guy, and he had Domenico quickly on him. And instead of giving me, I mean, what he did to kind of create the room there for himself was say, okay, he's closed out of me well. I need to pump fake him. I need to create a little more space. And my frame, because I'm longer than him, I can do that. That's something that for him at 19 to have that instinct to do that in that spot and have the footwork, I think, to get it off in that space. That is impressive. That was the highlight of his night. It's clearly his best skill right now is shot making and having the confidence to keep shooting at times. Again, the rest of the game is going to need to get rounded out. But that if there's a baseline and a skill you can build from, I don't hate that as a starting spot for what is going to be a really interesting project for Cleveland. And he's gotten more minutes early due to these injuries, and I don't think that's been the worst thing in the world for him. It's certainly not going to last, but I think getting him at least a little bit of run here before the charge season starts is not a bad thing. All right, stat of the night. I have 2, and they kind of hit the same theme, so I'm just going to give 2. Number 1, the Cavs missed 11 shots to start the third quarter. It's pretty bad. Game was lost right there. Or they shot 26.3% from 3. It's very hard to win a basketball game when you're that poor from 3.
Do you think the Cavs are a little too trigger happy from 3 sometimes? Like they took an obscene amount during the preseason, and it was kind of like, oh yeah, that's fun. Like that could be fun. But like, are they becoming like a little too reliant on getting their offense going from the perimeter? Because again, like New York was packing the paint, not letting Evan Mobley get any good looks. Like again, Hartenstein, Robinson, like did a very good job walling off Mobley in this game. And I understand like maybe trying to unlock the defense a little bit by hitting threes, but like it feels like every game like the Cavs are really just shooting up a lot of prayers sometimes.
I don't.
Like, there's
I think
not like a
is,
purpose to the attempts other than maybe just like, okay, we're just gonna try and see if we can get a couple to go in.
I think there is probably a balance to find somewhere, but I think not having Garland really hinders this, and I think they're really struggling. I think
there's no flow.
No, I think they're really struggling just to kind of get run coherent offense to some degree right now. I think everything just feels a little bit off. And I mean, you know, Craig Porter Jr. again stepped in, did his thing to some degree, had 2 blocks. That's something he can speak to and how he did there. But you could just tell that when he's your backup point guard option, when you have no Vert, who's already not really an optimal backup creator for others, and you don't have Garland, and Rubio obviously is away from the team, and we don't even know exactly what he would have been this year health-wise. Like it's a weird place for your offense to be, and Mitchell is great. He is not a great creator for others. That's one of the big weaknesses in his game, and I think holds him back at times. Evan, what's your stat?
My stat of the night is the last time Isaac Okoro scored in double figures in 4 straight games was in 2021. He's been on a tear to start the season, and again, like, has been fun to watch. Like, he's taking threes with confidence. He burned the Knicks for sacking off of him in this game, and I said this in the last segment, or actually earlier in this segment, rather. Like, he has been one of the few bright spots during this stretch for the Cavs, and just it's weird to think like he hasn't had like consistent double-digit nights in over 2 years.
Yeah, I'm just in on what Okoro has been so far. He's been really, I think, useful in a way that is really good for the
island. He just bought real estate when everyone else left because it was cheap. It was cheap.
That's right. I'm just buying up land. Now, did that work for me at the Waiters? Absolutely not. Will it work here? Better chance probably than the DN Waiters. So we're not. Coming up next, I have a Georges Niang take I want to get off. And we're going to talk about Halloween candy because why not?
It's in the note. I put it in the notes.
I know, but we're going to talk about it. I'm excited to hear your answers. Talk about this coming up next. Want to remind you, by the way, you can check NBA games out on SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Cavs or whatever NBA team you want to listen to there. Evan, I got to tell you, I think Georges Niang has been completely bad to start the season. He's not hitting shots. And and seeing him in person and watching a little bit more closely and going back and then kind of evaluating some of the stuff I watched when the Cavs got him, I don't like I'm not sure what else he's really supposed to provide. The Cavs had him defend Julius Randle in this game for stretches, and I understand like how that happens, and he's big, and you can say, okay, he can defend a post guy like this. But if Randle had just like been better or like was better, I think that becomes like a real matchup black hole. And I look at how he doesn't rebound, he's not making shots. Like I don't really understand. Like you're not going to bench him, but I don't really understand what Niang is doing that's helpful at the current moment. And I've become a little more skeptical that this is. I don't feel like this is like a top 8 playoff guy. If this is kind of the mold, especially if he's not making shots. If he's not making shots, there's like no value to what he brings you.
So I could see him being like that 8 and 9 guy when this Cavs team is fully healthy, because their starting 5 then would be Garland, Mitchell, Strus, Mobley, Allen. That's 5 right there. Okoro's played this point, like you cannot let him not be in the rotation, so he's in the mix. Levert is, so there's 7 right there. And then like it's between like Wade, Niang, even Jerome, I guess, too. Jones, I think, is it was certainly telling. There's one of my takes for the evening, like that the Cavs want to Tristan Thompson first over a much younger and way less mileage haver Damian Jones in this game. So maybe like Tristan Thompson instead, I guess. But either way, yeah, Niang, like if this team is fully healthy, like he's a dude where it's easier to pull the hook on him if he's just not making shots, because like that's all he really can give you. You watched it quite a bit. Like he was defending Julius Randle, and like Randle will call out his own number and like run like an ISO play essentially, and he would just like eat Niang alive. Like he was a weak link in this defense, and he's a weak link on the front line, which is something I think the Cavs aren't fully used to, because that is one of their strengths as a team before this season. Was like we are pretty sound defensively at the 4 and 5 spot. Niang is a bit of a wild card there. And like I remember Bickerstaff said like they tried playing Niang at the 5 against Brooklyn just because like they are so short on depth in certain positions, and like some guys maybe like will get in a foul trouble, which just that's how nights go. But like yeah, when this team is fully healthy, it's like a toss up between him and Wade. I would lead more towards Wade just because of the comfort, familiarity for this Cavs team, and also like Wade is better defensively right now. And yeah, if like Niang's shot isn't falling and this team is healthy, it's easier to pull the plug. But like right now, when you need bodies out there, like you have to kind of roll with the punches with him. And unfortunately, this is how he's always been. Like he's never been good defensively, and like is kind of a weak link out there.
Any final thoughts about this game, the Tristan thing? Anything else you want to get off your chest before we just
like I said, it was telling Damian Jones didn't play and Tristan Thompson did, and like just more than that, like yeah, again, Isaac Okoro has been great, and like I said, when talking about the rotation, like he has played so well where like when we were coming into this season, we talked about like, oh, he could be a fringe guy, who knows? Like no, he is firmly entrenched in this rotation, and you cannot allow this momentum that he has built beginning the preseason into the regular season fizzle out, because he is so good as a point of attack defender for you. He is your best point of attack defender, and if he's able to give you like solid minutes offensively and he is taking 3-pointers with confidence, you don't want to discourage that at all.
Yeah, you got to keep riding Okoro and what he is. All right, let's
reward good play. That's all you can do.
Yeah. And maybe he'll get himself paid a year from now. All right, Evan, give me your top 3 Halloween candies. We'll get out of here.
Okay, well, first off, just want to say Tristan Thompson saying Hershey's is the best candy is egregious. Like Hershey's tastes like vomit, first and foremost, and then saying Swedish Fish are better than Skittles actually boosted me for a second. I hate Swedish Fish.
I don't like Skittles, so.
I like Skittles.
I haven't had a Skittle in like 15 years either, though, so that could explain
like you would wither, I think, if you ate a Skittle or took a sip like Mountain Dew at this point.
Yeah, if I had a Baja Blast right now, I think I would die, to be honest.
Not from the caffeine either, just from the straight sugar.
Yeah, it's not the caffeine. I drink a lot of caffeine, but it would be just like, it would.
You drink either chemically produced caffeine in terms of like pre-workout or like natural caffeine in coffee. So,
well, yeah.
As adults do, but top Halloween candy for me, it's Reese's is probably my number one. Like I love a Reese's cup, especially like a frozen Reese's cup.
Oh yeah,
nothing matches that.
Okay. Solidarity on that. Frozen candy is the way to go.
Unless it's like a Snickers, which is like my number two. Like I'm a big chocolate guy. I like Snickers a lot, and then probably Sour Patch Kids. But if like I could really have like my choice of it, like Sour Patch watermelons, like those things rock. What about you?
It's Reese's. Then I am going. Am I getting? I think peanut M&Ms too.
Peanut or peanut butter?
Peanut.
Okay.
Peanut butter one's also very good. The original also very good. But there's a nostalgia thing for me. That's like my dad's favorite candy is peanut M&Ms.
It was my wrestling coach in middle school's favorite candy, and he would always give us crap about eating candy. And then
as he eats
Coach
M&Ms,
Talcott, Mr. Talcott was like the peak of. You'll meet some of my friends from high school. In fact, like my groomsman Kendall and my brother actually had Mr. Talcott as well. Like they can tell you like physically just like incredible because he was like 80 plus years old, but like still rode his bike to work every single day, kind of physically fit. Like even when it was like snowing like crazy. But then like, you're like, was eating peanut M&Ms once. We called him out on it. He's like, so what I do, boys, is I suck on it until the chocolate melts, spit out the chocolate and eat the peanut. And I believed it when I was 12. And now looking back, I'm like, he was totally lying to me.
Look, when you're 80 years old, just eat whatever you want. Like you've lived your life.
Yeah.
All right, so I would go Reese's peanut M&Ms, and then I would either go I'm gonna go Twix 3 and then stick.
Twix is a good pick. Like Twix is solid.
Also love a Kit Kat.
Kit Kats aren't bad either. I wish the Kit Kat in the United States they would embrace like what they do in like Asian countries, mostly Japan or like Europe or Canada, with like the unique flavors, because there's some pretty funky flavors out there for Kit Kat.
I just had a churro Kit Kat pretty recently.
So like, yeah, like just, I don't know, fun stuff like that. Like, cause Kit Kat's a pretty solid foundation, like crispy wafer chocolate, like hard to mess up. That's why Twix is good too. It's chocolate, caramel, and a cookie, like solid trifecta right there. How do you feel about Butterfingers?
I like a Butterfinger, but again, I haven't not had one in like 20 years, and I couldn't tell. Like, I'm not in a rush to like try a Butterfinger again.
So I love Butterfingers. I haven't had one in a really long time either, but the last time I had one, I grew to hate them because like they would stick to my teeth, and it's just like so much sugar that it made my teeth hurt. And
they are
very
like sugary.
I'm just like, that's a -5 on the Evan scale. Yeah, we had a ton of trick-or-treaters according to my soon-to-be wife. Like literally soon to 10 days, folks. And we have a bunch of candy downstairs, and I'm gonna try really hard to resist the temptation to like have a snack run after we wrap this up.
Don't do it. Eat your candy tomorrow, like
as an adult. Be an adult. Have candy for breakfast. Laugh.
Well, no, don't do that.
School. And I was like, I'm eating candy for breakfast.
This guy. All right, that's been Locked On Cavs. We'll be back after Cavs Knicks round 2. We'll see if anything's different, see if anything changes when the action shifts to Madison Square Garden. We'll talk to y'all then. Thanks again to Jake Stevens, as always.